How do you find a good financial planner? Someone who'll work in your interests and help you achieve your financial goals, not just look at what's in it for them. We all know that there's been major collapses in the financial industry in the last 10 years, with the likes of Storm Financial and Westpoint, and so many Australians have lost their hard-earned savings during this period. There's also been the global financial crisis that's again seen Australians' superannuation savings dwindle. And then there's the fraudsters and the spruikers who'll offer returns that are just too good to be true and generally are. Here with me to help throw some light on how you can find a good financial planner is Claire Mackay, a certified financial planner herself who graduated from the Royal Military College at Duntroon. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you.
Claire, what's the role of a financial planner?
I guess the first thing to remember is a financial planner is your advisor. They help you understand the implications of the financial decisions that you face. Therefore, a financial planner can help you with everything from setting budgets, developing long-term savings plans, to helping you decide between paying off your mortgage or putting money into superannuation and planning for retirement. They can help you with insurance and estate planning as well. So the role of a financial planner is really to help you make decisions about your financial well-being.
Okay. So what if my affairs were fairly simple? Would a financial planner still be interested in talking with me?
Well, some might, yes. Some advisors have specialised in high net worth individuals, so they must have a certain amount of assets. But a lot of advisors work with everyday Australians because the same issues are faced regardless. In that regard, though, you may not need comprehensive advice, the full bells and whistles. You might just need limited advice in a particular area of concern, such as your super or such as insurance. And that way you can then work out exactly what you need, and the financial advisor can work with you in that regard.
Okay, so does a financial planner have to be licensed?
Yes. It's a simple answer. Every financial advisor has to operate under an Australian Financial Services licence. When you first start working with an advisor, they must give you a financial services guide, an FSG, and that will explain to them their licence, their background, their experience, how they're paid, who they're owned by. And this is important when you first start out working with an advisor.
So, Claire, a blanket rule, all financial planners must be licensed?
Yes.
Okay, so that's for a financial planner, but what about a real estate agent?
Real estate agents may be licensed to give financial advice, but may not. And if they are giving financial advice, they have to have an Australian Financial Services licence. That is the blanket. Everyone who provides financial advice has to operate under that one licence. Now, not all real estate agents have that licence. So they may be talking about, you buying a home and that sort of things, but they can't necessarily give you advice around that.
So, Claire, I'm in a position where I now feel that I want to go and see a financial planner. But before I do, what are the most important things that I should look for?
Well, I think experience, expertise and education are given, and you can compare different advisors in those three areas. But the overarching thing is trust. Looking for an advisor that you can trust will be acting in your best interest. There are lots of great people out there, nice people, affable, that you want to share a beer with. But you have to be confident that the trust that you develop with your financial planner is in your best interest, that they are working with you for your financial well-being.
Well, what if they claim, for example, that they've got some kind of military background, some kind of expertise about superannuation and salary arrangements? Would that kind of thing help?
It certainly can't hurt. Having that background knowledge, given that you have particular issues associated with being a member of the ADF, will certainly be great, put them in great standing. Having said that, though, ADF personnel can be targeted as possibly lucrative clients who are not necessarily as experienced or knowledgeable about financial affairs. So being aware of that background knowledge, but also making sure that the advisor you work with you can trust and will be acting in your best interests.
And how can you talk about trust and an advisor acting in your best interest, how can I be sure that someone's going to be ethical and really look after my concerns and my financial affairs?
I think the best advice I can give to anyone is that nobody cares more about your money than you do at the end of the day. So trust has to be earned and earned over time, but ultimately every decision about your finances is in your hands. So working with an advisor, look at what they're advising you into. Are they giving you time to understand the implications of the decisions you face? A good advisor will give you time, will not put you under high-pressure sales techniques. Another thing to be aware of is how your advisor is paid. It may not come out of your pocket, but they are getting paid some way. And if they are paid more because you invest a certain way, then you've got to question, is the advice really in your best interest? Another thing to be aware of is that at the end of the day, an advisor will always get paid. So just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. And making sure you understand who's getting paid and how much they're getting paid for your advice is important.
So what if an advisor works for a financial institution like a bank?
There are some great advisors who work in the banks. But the important thing to remember is that they are going to be incentivised to put your investments in related party products. That's just, you don't go into a Holden car sales dealership and ask for a Ford. It just doesn't happen. So just being aware of that is the important thing.
So here's a very important question. How should a financial planner be paid?
Fixed or an hourly fee ensures that the advice you get is not in any way linked to the pay that they're going to receive. If you're paying a commission, then the advisor will only get paid if you actually invest in the products they recommend. So I think the key thing is to understand that you will pay. It may not come out of your pocket right now, it may come out of your investments later, but there's no such thing as a free lunch. So understanding how your advisor is getting remunerated and whether that may undermine the independence of the advice they give you is something you should be aware of.
Definitely. Claire, I've heard that some planners encourage a person to cash in their military super pension, either in part or in full. What's your take on that?
Well, that may or may not be right for the individual circumstances. But when we're talking about remuneration, the important thing to understand is if an advisor says they're on a fee-for-service basis, then if it's on a percentage basis, then the pie has to be big. And the more money they can get into that pot that the percentage is on is obviously going to increase their remuneration. So if you cash in your military super, then they'll be able to apply a fee to that, whereas if you stayed in the existing plan, then the advisor may not be able to be remunerated as easily, that you'd have to write a cheque, and that would mean that you may not necessarily perceive their service to be valuable. So be very aware of why someone is advising that for your circumstances. It may be the right thing for you, but understand that there may be some other reasons why an advisor might be encouraging you to do that, which may not be in your best interests.
There are new laws around the future of financial advice, and most people agree that these laws are necessary. Will the new legislation clean up the industry once and for all?
I'd love to be able to say yes, Maureen, but the truth is, in every industry there are always some rotten apples. This is, I think, as much about consumer demand as industry driven. When you are looking for a financial advisor, you're looking for a service. And the laws are now requiring advisors to be more transparent about the services they're providing. But when looking for a financial advisor, you don't want them to just be meeting the minimum standards. You want to know that your advisor really is acting in your best interest, that if you are paying them an ongoing fee for ongoing services, you understand how much you're paying and what service you're receiving. That if you've been paying your advisor for the last 5 years and they've never spoken to you, then the question is that the advisor you want to work with going forward?
So do you have any other advice?
I think the important thing to remember is not every Australian needs a financial planner, but they do need a financial plan. And if you can't do that on your own, getting help and working with a financial planner is a good thing. But in choosing a financial planner, be aware of the services that you're seeking, how much you're paying for those services, what things may influence your advisor, and making sure that they are acting in your best interest. These are really key things. At the end of the day, as you said, if it sounds too good to be true, it generally is. In fact, it definitely is. And so talking about things and understanding the decisions you face is really important. In choosing an advisor, talk to your friends and family, do your research. Make sure you interview a few people. This is a really important thing that is going to affect you and your family moving forward. And working with a good advisor is going to put you in a better position financially in the long term.
Claire, you've touched on so many important issues, but for anyone that wants to know more information, where do they go?
Well, the ADF Financial Services Council website has a lot of information. They've got a really great film about financial advisors that helps you understand these issues in more detail. ASIC's consumer website, Money Smart, has a lot of information as well and really explains a lot of the jargon and things that you should consider. These are two really great websites that make it very easy to find out more about this sort of stuff.
Claire, thanks so much for your time and all the valuable information you've shared with us.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Maureen.